While many of the musicians on this list have gone on to become some of the most iconic performers of all time, even superstardom can't get you on the Billboard Hot 100. Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit" was the grunge anthem that revolutionized rock and left a plaid flannel-shaped mark on music history. But did it reach number 1? Nope, it peaked at number 6, which seems oddly ironic for a song that outright refused to play by the rules of mainstream success. Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit" was the grunge anthem that revolutionized rock and left a plaid flannel-shaped mark on music history. But did it reach number 1? Nope, it peaked at number 6, which seems oddly ironic for a song that outright refused to play by the rules of mainstream success. Shania Twain may have owned the 90s country pop scene, but even her superstar charm wasn't enough to snag a number 1 hit. "You're Still the One" came close, peaking at number 2, but fate said, not quite, Shania. It's like being the MVP of a game but somehow missing the trophy for Best Player. Still, we couldn't love her more for her twangy tunes and sparkly outfits. And hey, when it comes to being the queen of catchy choruses and eternal karaoke jams, Shania holds the crown. A number 1 hit? Who needs it when your songs are live soundtracks for millions, no charts required. REM's anthem, "Losing My Religion," had everyone singing in existential confusion, but it only made it to number 4 on the charts. What do you call a song that changed lives but didn't climb its way to the top? Apparently, a classic. Though it never went number 1, it's forever immortalized in emo playlists everywhere. Maybe the charts weren't ready for their soul-stirring vibes, or maybe Michael Stipe's unrelenting coolness overwhelmed them. Either way, REM didn't need a number 1 to untuck their shirts and shake up alternative rock. Because sometimes, being iconic doesn't require gold medals. When you think of Metallica, you picture hard-hitting riffs, thrashing guitars, and an army of headbanging fans. But chart-topping singles? Not so much. Their highest charting song, "Until It Sleeps," peaked at number 10, proving that even metal gods sometimes get stuck in the slow lane on the highway to number 1 glory. But honestly, do you think Metallica is losing sleep over this? Between sold-out arenas and iconic albums that basically defined metal, they're doing just fine. Platinum records? Check. Global influence? Double check. A number 1? Meh, that's for pop stars. Metallica's here for the souls of metalheads everywhere. Bob Marley is a cultural icon whose music continues to inspire peace, love, and the faint aroma of certain herbal refreshments. But when it comes to chart success, the legend only made it to number 51 on the Hot 100 with "Roots, Rock, Reggae." Number 51, that's practically backstage seating on Billboard's ladder. But Marley's magic isn't measured by numbers. His reggae rhythms transcended the charts, turning him into a symbol of unity and a permanent fixture on playlists everywhere. Who cares about a number 1 when your face is on t-shirts, posters, and beach towels worldwide? Charts schmarts, Marley was playing the long game. It's almost poetic that "Boulevard of Broken Dreams" stopped at number 2, just shy of that elusive top spot. After all, the song itself is an anthem for the slightly crushed but still striving among us. Maybe the charts were just too intimidated by Billie Joe Armstrong's eyeliner and angst to push it over the edge. Still, Green Day didn't need a number 1 to dominate the punk rock scene. "American Idiot" became a generational rallying cry, and their concerts remain nuclear-powered sing-alongs. Maybe "Boulevard of Broken Dreams" didn't go all the way, but Green Day sure did. Who needs number 1 when you've got that kind of legacy? Pearl Jam's "Last Kiss" was a sweet ballad with a side of heartbreak, and it got them all the way to number 2 on the charts. But that coveted number 1 spot? Not this time. It's like being at prom and almost snagging the crown, only to watch it go to someone else's overly glittery hairdo. Still, Eddie Vedder and the gang probably weren't too heartbroken. Pearl Jam didn't just ride the grunge wave, they paved it with platinum records and legendary live shows. "Last Kiss" may not have sealed the deal at number 1, but it's proof that you don't need a top spot to make fans scream in adoration. Demi Lovato's powerhouse anthem, "Sorry Not Sorry," had everything a chart-topping hit needs: sass, swagger, and the kind of belted-out chorus that turns shower singing into a full-blown concert. Yet, it only peaked at number 6. Maybe the charts were too intimidated by Demi's unapologetic confidence to give the song top billing. But hey, who needs number 1 when your track becomes a cultural catchphrase? Demi's career is packed with hits, fans, and a voice that could shatter glass, in the best way. Number 6, Peeved. Demi isn't sorry one bit, and neither are we for blasting this one on repeat. En Vogue brought the house down in the 90s with powerhouse vocals and impeccable style, landing 3 songs at number 2, including Hold On. But they never snagged a number 1. It's like running a marathon flawlessly, only to trip just before crossing the finish line. Talk about cruel twists. Still, En Vogue didn't need a number 1 to prove they were in a league of their own. Their harmonies were tighter than their iconic outfits, and their influence on girl groups lingers on. Chart toppers or not, En Vogue's presence was undeniable and their music unforgettable. A first-place title? Overrated. The Who is one of the most legendary rock bands to walk the planet. They gave us iconic hits like Baba O'Reilly and My Generation, yet somehow, not a single one of their tracks reached number 1. It's almost poetic, though, since The Who was never about fitting into anyone's charts. This band smashed guitars and convention with equal fervor. Whether they hit the top spot or not, their influence is written all over rock history. Plus, when you've got Pete Townsend windmilling on guitar and Roger Daltrey screaming his way into music legend, who needs a number 1 hit? Rock royalty doesn't need validation from the Billboard gods. If the godfather of soul can't even make it to the top of the charts, what hope is there for the rest of us? As unbelievable as it sounds, American music icon James Brown never nabbed the number 1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100. It, thankfully, did nothing to squash his enduring popularity. Even though he never had a number 1 hit, Brown gave it his best effort. By the end of his career, more than 90 of his songs had ranked on the Hot 100 charts. While some got close to the top, none ultimately made it. His closest misses included I Got You, which came in at number 3, and Living in America, which made it to number 4. It seemed like Sheryl Crow was destined to reach number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 the moment she stepped onto the scene in 1994. Her single, All I Wanna Do, was rising quickly, and nothing could stop her from reaching the top. But then, stalled at number 2 for 6 heartbreaking weeks. Like many of the other musicians on this list, Crow's success was thwarted by a crowded chart. This was the same time when Boyz II Men's single, I'll Make Love to You, was in the number 1 spot, and Crow just never managed to dethrone them. These days, most people consider MC Hammer's famous single, You Can't Touch This, to be one of the best and most memorable songs of the early 90s. However, back then, it was a different story. The rapper's most famous solo only managed to make it to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. His single, Pray, did manage to make it to number 2, but that was the best he ever did. All that being said, Hammer did do better on other charts. His album Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em was number 1 on the Billboard 200 albums chart for a whopping 21 weeks. Love may be a battlefield, but the Billboard Hot 100 is no walk in the park either. Just ask Pat Benatar. This singer-songwriter took the music world by storm in the 1980s, but like everyone else on this list, she never managed to reach the top spot on the charts. Her 2 best attempts came from her singles Love is a Battlefield and We Belong, which both came in at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. Benatar's most famous days may be behind her, but she's still releasing music, so there's a chance she could still hit number 1. The 1990s were a great time for boy bands, none more than the Backstreet Boys, except for maybe NSYNC. However, while everyone may have lost their minds for these singing, dancing pretty boys, they just couldn't quite make it to the top of the Billboard Hot 100. At least they have their millions to comfort them. The Backstreet Boys managed to have 6 singles crack the top 10, but number 2 was as close as they ever got to the top with Quit Playing Games with My Heart. Their single, I Want It That Way, was number 1 on the radio songs chart, but because of some music business technicalities it wasn't eligible for the number 1 spot on the Hot 100. Disco, jazz, pop, blues, funk, the Pointer Sisters have done it all. Well, all except one thing. Reach number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. We don't know what's going on with these crazy charts, but it's a real travesty that these icons have never gotten their proper due. The family group did have some success on the charts. Their singles, Fire and Slow Hand, both made it to number 2, but that was as far as they got. Another 5 of their singles peaked in the top 10, including Neutron Dance, Automatic, and He's So Shy. Do you think that Creedence Clearwater Revival really cared that they never topped the Billboard Hot 100? Probably not, but as popular as the band was, and continues to be, it's a little shocking that they never climbed to the top. They ultimately had 5 singles make it to the number 2 spot, but number 1 was never in the cards for them. While they never reached number 1, they do have one chart-based accomplishment they should be very proud of. In 1976, their greatest hits compilation album made it onto the Billboard Top 200 album chart, and it's literally been there ever since. The album officially reached the 500-week mark in December of 2020. At this point, Bruce Springsteen is basically an American institution unto himself. However, even the boss couldn't even make it to the top of the charts. Considering how long he's been releasing hits, it has to be some sort of statistical anomaly that not a single song made it to number 1. The closest he ever made it to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 was his iconic hit Dancing in the Dark, off of his equally famous album, Born in the USA. Unfortunately for Springsteen, his song was hitting the charts at the same time that Prince was releasing his mega hit, When Doves Cry, which stole the top spot from him. Bob Dylan rose to fame in the 1960s and he's stayed there ever since. He's been on tour since 1988, he's gone platinum numerous times, and he's even won the Nobel Prize for Literature. But despite all those accolades, he just can't quite seem to conquer the charts. He did get close with a couple of singles making it to number 2, but he never reached the top. With that said, rising on the charts doesn't automatically make you a good musician. There are plenty of people with number 1 hits that will never be half the musician Dylan is. Imagine Dragons continue to be a wildly popular band, but as of now, they've never managed to conquer the Billboard Hot 100. They may have won Grammys, among other awards, and sold millions of albums, but even that's not enough to get a number 1 hit, apparently. That being said, they've done just fine. Several of their singles have managed to break into the top 10. These have included Radioactive coming in at number 3, as well as Believer and Thunder both coming in at number 4. Chaka Khan is known as the Queen of Funk, and she more than deserves such a good title. She's had a career that spans decades, she's won 10 Grammy Awards, and she's sold more than 70 million records worldwide. If that's not royalty, I don't know what is. Unfortunately, she's never reigned over the Billboard Hot 100. Her 2 best performing singles were Tell Me Something Good and I Feel For You, both of which didn't rise any higher than number 3 on the charts. She has, however, reached number 1 as a featured performer on another artist's single, including Steve Winwood's 1986 hit Higher Love. She's one of the most recognized rappers in the world, but even the great Missy Elliott can't manage to nab a number 1 single. Unfortunately for her, her number 2 hit, Work It, was released around the same time as Eminem's Lose Yourself, and she just couldn't dethrone this other great rapper. However, there is a silver lining to her number 2 disappointment. It's tied for the record of most weeks on the chart at number 2 without actually reaching number 1. She shares this unusual distinction with Foreigner's single, Waiting for a Girl Like You. French-born DJ David Guetta has taken the world by storm. He's been ranked as the number 1 DJ of all time and even has a Grammy win and multiple nominations under his belt. However, when it comes to the Billboard Hot 100, this world-class DJ just can't make it to the top. Unlike some of the others on this list, Guetta hasn't reached number 1, but he also has never reached number 2, or number 3. His best success so far has been his 2 number 4 hits, Turn Me On, and Without You. However, he's still got a rock-solid career, so there's still time for him to reach the top. Martha and the Vandellas had decades of success as one of the most popular girl groups to come out of Motown, but a number 1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 was just never in the cards for them. The charts may always be changing, but this is one group whose popularity has endured over the years. Their famous hits like Dancing in the Street and Heatwave might be classics today, but they couldn't conquer the charts back in the day. Dancing in the Street made it to number 2, while Heatwave only made it to the number 4 spot. They did, however, make it to number 1 on the R&B charts. Love them or hate them, there's no denying it, One Direction managed to become one of the most popular boy bands of all time. They might be gone now, but at the height of their popularity, they had millions of rabid fans. But an overenthusiastic fanbase is apparently not enough to make it to the top of the charts. Even though One Direction had several singles that made their way into the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, none of them ever actually reached the top. Some of their best attempts included Best Song Ever, number 2, Drag Me Down, number 3, and What Makes You Beautiful, number 4.